Hey guys, welcome back to Alchemy Chats. This is officially our third episode. I have with me Miss Danielle here, and today we're going to discuss some aspects of the post-COVID awakening, which is something we felt that everybody could relate to because we all had to endure COVID. There's nobody around, nobody alive that can say that they didn't. So that's what we're going to cover today. Some of the challenges associated with a world that changed seemingly overnight and what that required of us as consumers, as creators, as providers in some cases. So, that's what we're going to cover today. So, how are you, Miss Danielle?
I'm great. I'm ready to explore all of this because I've just been seeing and hearing nonstop about people needing a pivot in career or business. And it's such a collective theme right now that I think a lot of people need to hear. But it's okay to feel a little bit disoriented and that pivoting and rebirth is not an easy thing to handle by any means, but it's always like leading to a better reality. So, yeah, I think it'll be a fun conversation.
It's always a fun conversation. So, what I wanted to share really quick before we get started, I pulled an oracle card for some general energies here about this episode and maybe what some of you at home listening might want us to cover. And so this is a really interesting and unexpected oracle card called the Hungry Ghosts. And this is power number 14 and covers all matters of obsessions, scarcity consciousness, and attachment. And I think this is so relative to this particular topic because in all of the ways that COVID revealed uncomfortable truths to us on an individual and collective level, reorienting ourselves into positions where we still had financial autonomy as well as regular autonomy, the ability to express ourselves and show up in this world as we choose. It's become very difficult because so many of us are still attached to the world as it was before. And the world as it was before really does not exist anymore. I think we're dealing with the ruins, the skeletal structure, if you will, of a world that died. And it can be very difficult with little to no guidance or little to no reference as how to intelligently navigate that in a way where you're still showing up as living in your purpose, you're still making money, you're still able to provide for your loved ones, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to share that that came up in my random card pull that I decided to do literally at the last second here.
And it's
Yeah.
also the ghost of who people were before that, because a lot of people were ignoring, their soul's compass and weren't picking up on the signals of, hey, you're in a misaligned reality, or you're still carrying an old identity and old limitations and beliefs that you picked up from really old programming. So trying to bring that with you into a completely refreshed world is really like having a ghost over your shoulder. And we're going to dive more into that, of how that can affect your career and business and what that looks like we've been through a whole rebirth cycle. It's not just the outer world that's changed, it forced a lot of internal change as well and made us question, yeah, what framework and paradigm am I running my life through? And how's that affecting my relationships, my abundance, my business? Am I meant to pivot? Like, where's that compass I'm running off of and that lens that I'm seeing through? What is it made up of? And did it adjust to the new reality? Or are we still clenching on to those old programs and survival strategies to navigate something new or create something new, which obviously makes it infinitely more difficult to step into that.
It
So it's
does.
so twofold, right?
It totally makes it more difficult, but I think it also, in a lot of ways, I think it could give us an advantage. I guess it depends how you're looking at it. But you bring up such a great point because we are attempting to orient ourselves with a built-in compass that was designed by and for a world that no longer exists. So it's basically like you're starting on this huge hike with a broken compass or a compass that is oriented and calibrated to an entirely different realm where north is not north anymore, west is not west anymore. So it can be very difficult for people. I mean, COVID, we lost people lost everything. They lost everything. It was just a complete overhaul of so many systems, and a lot of those systems just never recovered. They just never came back. We're here because we empathize with that journey, what it takes from you, what you're forced to give up, and in a lot of cases, what you feel forced to hold on to, which can be exponentially more destructive and chaotic than just letting go. So, we're here to help guide and support you on your journey of repivoting and also getting in tune with what your individual purpose is and how you can find out what that is. A lot of people, that's like question number one that I get as a reader, is Jenny, what's my purpose? But I know that's something we're going to get to is like how to determine what your individual purpose is. It's a very important question.
So, one question that me and Jenny get consistently across the board, I mean, Jenny's doing intuitive readings all the time with business owners, people who are awakening to their own gifts or trying to navigate business or career change. I worked with a lot of holistic and conscious spiritual entrepreneurs as well, people who are like energy healers or navigating the different options and tools in the holistic world that they could bring through around like energy and holistic health and these things. And even people who are very in touch with something that's pretty soul aligned still come back to the question of like, am I on the right path? Is this truly my purpose? Like, am I getting something or doing something wrong here? And I think that's a question reflection that a lot of people are coming back to through this post COVID era, where it's revealed so many things about how we're not living in alignment or something feels a little off about the way that we're creating or working or providing services. So, at every level, it's really been a reinvention of who we are and what we bring to the table. So, it can cause a lot of confusion around like, are you on the right path or not?
Mhm.
And is there a right way to do things? It's so easy to self-doubt and think, am I getting something wrong here? Because everything's different. Everything feels different. Even
Mhm.
if you're not going through a huge pivot, you can probably see how you speak about your work or you offer your work has changed. Either it's deepened, maybe you've incorporated something else, you're just deepening your wisdom and perspective as this rebirth has happened for us all. So there's an important reframe there too, because if we're always stuck thinking, am I on the right path and doubting ourselves, it's not exactly the right question. But would you say
Mhm.
that's like the number one question you get asked?
It totally is. What's
Yeah.
my purpose is top five most common questions that I get as a reader. And it's forced me to reassess that question and dissect what people really are wanting to know when they ask about their life purpose and if they're on the right path. So, to start with purpose, I've come to the understanding that a human being has no one singular purpose. This is some kind of conditioning or program, or maybe linguistically across the history of our literature and our entertainment, we've just fixated on the idea of one singular purpose or one singular path. And I can tell you that one human being will have countless interactions with living things throughout the course of their lifetime. And it is arguable that every single one of those interactions is a purpose. So people can have infinite amounts of purposes throughout their lifetime. Now, I know what people mean when they say, what is my purpose? It's more about actually where do I best show up? And people are very concerned. And there's also quite a bit of fear around the question that they are not utilizing this lifetime to their highest potential. And this is something that leaves people feeling fearful. They have a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. And it really all stems from I feel the narratives of people around them, society, parents, friends, that put all of these expectations on us, right? So it kind of always does dovetail into things like astrology, because I believe that the natal chart, whatever your preference is, whether it's Western or Vedic, the Vedic chart really is a kind of blueprint for understanding the map of the soul. It helps navigate certain traits, inclinations, strengths, weaknesses, karmic residual happenings from other incarnations and other interactions with other souls. So, really, when people ask about their life purpose, they're asking a plethora of questions all at one time. Now, we can certainly extract that data and get those answers, but I do want people to basically just be gentle on themselves
Mhm.
and ease up a little bit on themselves and try to release some of that pressure around the notion of life's purpose. Because, say you're 24, 34, 44, I guarantee you, you have lived out and you have certainly enacted numerous, countless purposes already. So it's not like, oh, all is lost if I'm not, living my purpose.
Mhm.
But I found that the question really does some of the more sort of streamlined means of getting to the root of that question is asking yourself or asking a reader, or asking your natal chart or doing it in meditation. What are my strengths? What am I passionate about? What is it that gets me so fired up in a good way, so excited? What lights my soul on fire when we start to discuss it or when I see it or when I observe it? And those are things that it's very important that an individual learn to listen to. You have to listen to the signal of the heart, of the myofascial system, of the gut brain. You have to learn how to listen to what truly gives you joy. That's going to help you determine your path. I believe that we are pulled very strongly in the direction of our natural path, our natural course, if only we are able to discern what obstructs us from recognizing it and what holds us back from just walking the walk.
Yeah. And I think when someone's asking about purpose and if they're on the right path or not, it comes down to presence because, like you said, the coherence and intelligence of the heart and the mind and your energy. There's an aliveness that can happen, an awareness of self and what you're drawn towards when you're actually present with yourself in the moment and you're going through life with a priority of honoring yourself and how you're naturally designed. So I
Mhm.
think the purpose discussion has way more to do with like identity,
Mhm.
awareness, energetics than we give credit for. So instead of thinking of it like, am I on the right career path or am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? We'll
Mhm.
come back to like, we're all here to develop ourselves as souls in this body, in this carnation, in this reality. So
Mhm.
are you experiencing reality? Are you listening to what's inside?
Mhm.
And are you doing the work and going through the processes of potentially failing, of experiencing that extreme joy and aliveness, and really taking a look at how much of this is old conditioning and identity that I'm living through. And then how can I move closer towards what lights me up and what my heart is saying and what the truth is? Are you creating from a place of this is the truth of how I'm meant to be navigating reality right now? And a lot of that is just collecting experiences that we need to move through because it puts us through that growth cycle. So the more experiences that you're having, the more chance you have to discover yourself, to grow, and to get yourselves into those connections, businesses, opportunities, even to reveal skills or passions inside yourself
Mhm.
through those experiences to put you on the right path, which is really just the aligned path. And if you're here honoring your soul and you're growing and you're experiencing, then the answer is yes. Like your way is the way, and
Mhm.
you're allowed to change that at any point. It's just
Mhm.
important to bring it back to where is that coming from energetically? What's the identity anchoring it all in? And how is that navigating reality? Because if you're sitting there in that old programming and that old fear and it's tense and you're not really moving, then you're not going through that cycle. You're just cycling inside the same program, the same fear again and again. So, in order to get on your path, you might need to take a look at that and shed that and transform that a little bit. But that's why we're here. That also doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or you're so lost. It's
Totally.
always pointing you back to soul, creator, truth. And that's it. So you don't have to demonize feeling resistance or
Mhm.
anger for where you're at. That's unexpressed change energy.
Mhm.
You get to leverage that. You get to use it as an indicator and a compass for
Yes.
what's happening. Are you in the aligned reality? Are you creating something that is a vision for where you want to go? Because those desires and that heart intelligence is from creator and from your soul. It's not
Exactly.
random.
It's the oldest intelligence. It's where the oldest intelligence that we have is seated inside the human body, is in the heart. And they used to believe that the seat of the soul was the skull, which is why, historically speaking, this is why they revered the skull of the saints or the warriors or the chieftains or this and that, because they believed that that's where the soul was seated. And it's not, it's seated in the heart. And this is certainly what I'm about to say is likely going to be an episode for more like a little under the radar.
Yep.
But part of the design of the COVID scam was a massive collaborative effort to reorient and redesignate the signal of the heart onto a synthetic network so that people that were so inundated with the mRNA technology were unable to send and receive the God signal. And we, again, this is something that could take up just hours and hours of discussion. But this is, I feel, at the very root of the imbalance that people observe and feel is, why are we perceiving such a wildly different perspective of the sort of take on things, and this other group of people are seeing something completely different. I believe that they have really done a great deal of damage to the heart, the literal anatomic heart, and the correlative invisible structures of the heart, the electromagnetic frequency that is emanated by the heartbeat. So that is a huge scandal. And almost 7 years after this pandemic, we're seeing, the loss and the devastation that has directly resulted from it. You can't talk about the heart and not talk about myocarditis and all of these horrible things, the turbo and just all these terrible things that resulted post 2020, post COVID. But I also get that question a lot about how do I know that I'm on my right path? How do I know? And it's going to sound so like tongue in cheek or like sassy of me to say it, but you're on the path that you're supposed to be on. Because if you weren't on the path that you're on, you would be on another path. And that's not to say that mistakes haven't been made, or because sure, we've made lots of mistakes, but this is the timeline that you have crystallized based off of a series of decisions that you have made. And based on results, you have exactly what you intended, whether that was a subconscious decision or a conscious decision. So the first step here really is acceptance of the situation and accepting reality, just like as you said, is this you take a look at your reality, sober minded, completely unbiased if you can. So there are people that will have an impossible time doing this. And then there are people that it will come very naturally to. Um, but and then so a radically unself-aware person will experience a timeline where their surroundings will co-sign on their bad decisions and let them know that they're right, they're right, they're right. And that's because, their alignment is with deception, just lies and power and control, But we're talking to people that are here to really willing to do the work and to look at themselves very honestly. But really, truly, the first step is just accepting, looking at your surroundings and understanding that you are where you are. Because of the choices that you've made. And this isn't to start beating up on yourself. Nobody has time for that. We're not doing the victim stuff, the woe is
No.
me, and I messed up and I have regrets. We've all messed up and we've all made mistakes. We all have regrets, things we should have done, could have done. Someone said to me once, don't should all over yourself. And that
Yeah.
really stuck with me because it's like, oh, I see it's a little play on word.
Yeah, and that should be one of the most empowering things to start realizing that you are a co-creator. And the more in tune you are with yourself and the truth and developing as a person going through these processes, the more in control you are. You're kind of like
Mhm.
the creative director of your
Yes,
reality,
you
and
are.
you start seeing relationships and people and little things popping up, synchronicities as guidance. And you can start seeing the pattern that runs through them if you're, experiencing the same type of situation or person, or you keep noticing that one little thing that, oh, people like this seem to be really drawn to me, or like getting a
Mhm.
lot of opportunities around this type of business or work or something. And like you start seeing your entire reality, the entire landscape of your experience as a feedback loop of what choices you're making, what you're doing with the energy that's present. And in order to pick up on that, you have to be present in your reality and take accountability for the choices that you're making. And the more that we do that, the more empowering it is for the future that we want to create. If you have your eye on something, your mindset on something that's a little bit different than what you're experiencing now, everything around you is giving you clues and feedback and guidance on where to go next, who to talk to next, what lever to pull next. And I don't know if there's anything outside of that that's more personally empowering
Mhm.
and like puts us more in tune with our soul and creator and doing something with that. Like that's the whole point. It's the whole point.
Oh, it's like total ecstasy. It's the type of feeling that I wish I could impart on everybody that wants it because it's this understanding that you are interfacing with divinity and that you are surrounded by some kind of intelligent force that sees you just as much as you see it. If you're looking at it, it's looking at you. And I say this for better or for worse, because humans have, we have our understanding of morality. And for us, for most people, for most of us here, it works just fine. But a few scales above that, there really is no right or wrong. There's just polarities. There's energy. So we'll also see with some of the darker forces, the cults, the orders, the gangs, they will experience a great deal of power and influence, and they experience the ecstasy of seeing divine intelligence working alongside them. And this is something that a lot of people get stuck on because they're like, Jenny, why do those people get to enjoy the money, the power, the cars, the this, the that? They're carefree. It's certainly context matters and case by case situations matter. But a lot of it is derived from the belief system. That's entirely it. It is that person's belief system. The universe responds to your belief system. It doesn't respond to anything else. It just doesn't. And I think that bothers people because a lot of people like to believe that that there's some sort of punishment built in if you're bad. And I hate to tell you guys, we punish ourselves. We reward and punish ourselves. Okay.
Yeah. And that belief system and the identity that's running the show is what's driving the results in the outer
That's
world.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. Now, there are karmic forces that are outside of our control, and that has a lot to do with contracts between souls, and it has to do with spirit teams and contracts between on a spiritual level. So it might look like these people are just getting away with it, and there are things going on that we can't see. So I'm not saying that there is no justice. There is. It just doesn't always look how we think it's going to look. And so, people's behaviors, and their experiences, how they perceive those experiences will always follow that individual's belief system. Behaviors follow beliefs every single time. So when you're attracted to the same type of person that's toxic, that is because on some subconscious level, your belief system reinforces that this is the kind of person that you're attracted to, or vice versa. And this is why I think we struggle so deeply post-COVID, because we saw a real-time fracturing, a real-time split of the collective belief system. Half of us, now I say half loosely because I don't know the exact numbers, half of us realized that the belief system that was embedded unto us from childhood was a lie, while the other half, continued with this archaic belief system that had just been obliterated completely in front of our faces. And so we're trying, unless you have recalibrated and reoriented your belief system to suit the new world and integrated new facts and new information and dispelled the old world, you're going to struggle. You're going to suffer. And also, we're dealing with people in business, in society, in our communities, in our family units. We're dealing with people whose behaviors will still follow their broken belief system, or their belief system that is very much in contention with our own. So this is another reason why we struggle. Um, so I wish I could say, oh, we all just have to have the same belief system and then we'll all have nice, cheery, sunny interactions with one another. But I think we're always going to have to deal with the level of duality as long as we're here in physical form. Um, but yeah, the belief system is everything. Change your belief system and everything else changes, or just accept that your belief system has to change and then watch what happens. The universe will conspire alongside you to create synchronicities, to manifest people, places, and things that co-sign on your desire to change your belief system about yourself and about the world. It really is it's a co-creation. It's a 50-50 thing, or 100%, 100%.
How much of society and like the political landscape is all built on lies.
Mm-hmm.
And those lies gaslit so many of us to think that there's something wrong or broken about us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the very skill and magic and uniqueness that you need to bring into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of like allowing the reflection of those broken systems or even broken family systems, build this identity that you have. Like you're always going to act in accordance with who you believe you are. So
Completely
what
every
did the
time.
world and your family and whatever else you were exposed to make you think that you are? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did that shape your identity? Because you're always going to act in accordance to that. And that's a whole frequency set too. So as you do the mindset work, the body work, take action in your experience, like actually go do the thing, take the risk, talk to the person, even though that old identity and program wants to go, that's not safe. You're going to fail. You're going to get rejected. This is going to be disastrous. You're not enough. Whatever that paradigm is running in your reality is coming from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the ultimate gaslight to build a society on lies, have people go through this whole school system that doesn't measure even 10% of human intelligence and the different types of intelligence and skills that
Right.
people are encoded with. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to make up an identity that says, I'm not good enough, and here's where I belong in society. But we're going through this whole refresh, and that's where you get to excavate all of these gifts that you were told that you were like different in a bad way for,
Yes,
and
yes.
put them out into the world.
Oh man, it's the future. It really is the future. I, and we were talking about this before, but it's not that I can't, because I talk to so many different kinds of people. I talk to people that have been on the spiritual path their entire lives. I've talked to people that woke up around 9/11, post-COVID, last year. So I talk to people that are on all timelines of what we could call a spiritual awakening. And so I've talked to people that have undergone a realization of the sort of misalignment between themselves and, say, their professional world or their family world. And so it brings with it a very unique set of challenges. It's like, what do I have to give up? What is this going to cost me? How is this going to damage my belief system and all of the things that I've considered sacred or my North Star type of thing? So for me, I've always been on a kind of wayward path, kind of an unconventional path. So it's not that I can't relate, because I can relate to anybody and everybody, but I can't say that I have that particular experience in this lifetime where I've had to deal with pivoting from, say, a corporate or military or government job or accounting job or some industry that had nothing to do with my with my gifts and who I really was. This was, say, a job that I came into because society, told me it was the best, highest paying job. It would provide the best benefits, that kind of thing. So we're at a really interesting part in the timeline where people have absolutely nothing in common with the person that they were, say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they're having to reinvent themselves out of a life where they have been in accounting for 20 years or they sold hardware for 20 years. And now they're like, I want to do, I want to show up in this world how I truly am, what my gifts are, what my strengths are. You've come to the right place, because this is part of why I think Danielle and I are here, is to help guide and support folks that find themselves feeling overwhelmingly compelled to pivot and do this inner work that specifically reorients them to their truth, their inner truth. And it can be very taxing on the belief system. It's very painful to change your belief system. It's not some easy thing to do. And I wanted to share with you guys a really interesting scenario that I did experience, where the universe let me know that I was on the wrong path, because this is a question that we get a lot about, am I on the right path? Am I in the right career? Am I in the right business? So I want to say it was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. It was like it was maybe 5 months before COVID. It really wasn't like long ago. Yeah, so like 5 months or so before COVID, I was having some, just kind of like, I was going through it. So what did I do? I decided to join the Coast Guard. So I underwent a series of, so basically there's a process, there's a protocol associated with it. It's not like, okay, you just sign up and go. All of the arrangements were made. I had a ship out date. I had all of this stuff that it was like, we're ready to go. And I decided to do a tarot reading on whether or not this was like the right path for me, because I was already into tarot at the time. And the cards were just in complete contention of this decision that I was making. But it was too late. It was too late. I couldn't stop this train. I couldn't stop this boat, so to speak, which is so hilarious to think of me in the Coast Guard, because I get violently seasick. And I like, it would have been the worst match.
Perfect.
It was like, I don't know what I was thinking. But Spirit also told me, now mind you, this was pre-COVID, but right on the precipice of COVID, I was told by Spirit that if I were to take any of the vaccine that they were to give me, and again, the COVID vaccine was not a thing just yet. It was coming, but it wasn't a thing just yet. I was told that I would lose my ability to speak to spirit and to divine and channel. And that was a price that I was not willing to pay. And then I said, you know what? I need to ease back from this. And they said, hey, we'll always be here. We'll keep in touch, type of thing. And then boom, COVID hit. And at that point, it was, everybody that goes in, you have to take this vaccine. So this was Spirit's way of sending me not one, not two, but multiple signals that this was just not the course for me whatsoever. And so all that to say, I think I think if you're listening, if you have any semblance of attunement and you are not actively obstructing spirits in to you, for you, you'll know if something is out of alignment. You guys also have to learn how to trust yourselves. That's like phase one, is learn how to trust yourself, because when you don't, the universe will spank you for it, for knowing
Yeah.
better.
And face reality, because like even if you're in denial and you're like, oh, I really wanted this thing, it was this exciting new change
Yeah.
or whatever it was that was unaligned, it's almost like you keep getting the tap on the shoulder, the tap on the shoulder. Are you
Mhm.
sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Mhm.
Until it finally clicks internally and you can turn the other way.
Yeah.
So it's not always an emergency situation either. Maybe in your case there kind of was a bit of a soul
Oh
emergency
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
horizon, but you
Completely.
had such a heads up on that to be able to pivot away from it and keep honoring your calling and helping people in the way that you were meant to, instead of going on a whole sidewinder.
Oh
Um,
God. Because it would have been a nightmare. Basically, I just wouldn't have made it through, because I would have been like, I'm not taking that vaccine. And they would have kicked me out, and it would have been a terrible mark on my record, and it would have just been awful and traumatizing.
so yeah, that's a pretty big pivot and reroute.
Yeah, it really
And
was.
it's interesting the layers behind, all of the resistance that can come up when you're walking into a pivot. Like it can really feel like you are stuck in two worlds. Like one foot is on the side of, this is all I've ever known, this is who I've always been, here's what I always believed, and making a pivot over to the new reality where your identity is evolving, your energetic signature is changing and harmonizing and improving, I would say, like dissolving distortions and things like that.
Mhm.
So it's like you can have this feeling and this inner knowing that that reality is going to be so much better if you just
Mhm.
step into it.
Mhm.
But that pivot in between is one for the books. Like
It's
that can be
painful.
so hard. I've been there a million times, but I think it's a real collective theme happening right now. And people thinking like from their old paradigm of who they are, how they operated, but also how they that idea or project or business was received, like the judgments of others from that other world, like say post COVID, how things were.
Mhm.
You could have been someone who worked with energy or personal development or something on a deeper level, and maybe it wasn't quite landing, and you were just perceived
Mhm.
not in the way that you had intended, and
Mhm.
what you wanted to bring forward and how you wanted to portray your teachings and your business, your service to the world, maybe it wasn't translating to people. But as we're moving into that new reality,
More
right
and
now,
more.
people are perceiving and receiving all of this new way to approach life and these new ideas and risk taking and starting businesses is completely different. So not only are you different, operating from a different lens, level of self-worth, clarity on who you are, but the world has changed too. People have
Mhm.
changed too. So if you're always taking that past idea, what you used to do and how it was perceived and putting it, projecting it into the other side, it's going to be really hard to move forward. So it's just something to reflect on if you're kind of like feel like you got a devil and angel on your shoulder and you're kind of caught between two realities. It's like you get to evolve, the world has evolved and it
Yeah.
gets to be different this time. So many people don't move forward because they're like, well, I failed in the past.
Mhm.
Like, what's
Mhm.
different now? So
Mhm.
is that something that you've seen and
Oh
like,
God, yeah.
yeah,
Seen it, lived it, heard
yeah,
it, experienced it. I work with my clients each and every day, and each and every day it's a new precipice. It's a new scary threshold that we have to run through. And I hear it all the time, and I deal with this myself too. I'm a human being. I have a million issues, and I work through them every day. I'm very fortunate. I have an amazing group of people I can like run things by, right? But uh it can be very challenging when you have this idea, this inclination, this impulse to share a gift or a service, or you have a business idea, or there's something you want to do. I tell people, like, I know it sounds so simplistic, but go ahead and do it because you are building something that might not be for the world right now, but you're building something for a time that will line up perfectly and divinely because divinity is highly intelligent, highly creative, so much more creative and intelligent than we are. And I say that with respect to the human brain and the ego, but let's face it, we're just humans. And there is some kind of higher power that is conducting, processes here. But I tell people start now because you'll wish you did. Okay. And I say this as someone who I've always been into storytelling, symbolism, the paranormal, spirits. I have always felt almost pulled around in like a psychic washing machine. And I didn't know at the time, but I was built and designed for a time that was way up the path and I
yeah,
couldn't see it. I knew it was there because I trusted my path, maybe not at all times, but I had that North Star sense that I was doing what I was, doing what I wanted to do, basically. But I know how difficult it can be to make decisions on behalf of a future that you can only sense right now.
yeah,
But it is imperative that you do it. Kind of like Noah's Ark. People thought he was absolutely out to lunch, Looney Tunes, wackadoodle time. He knew what was coming. And thank God he started when he did because divine timing lined up perfectly and the ark was ready just in time for the rains. So when it comes to pivoting and finding your purpose, I just want to let people know like fear of failure and embarrassment is not a real thing. It's not a real thing. Embarrassment's not real, it's a construct. It's just a feeling. If you think of like the most successful people, they've failed more times than most people have ever tried anything.
yeah,
Embarrassment. Most people are more concerned about themselves and how they appear to other people than poking fun and being like, "Oh my God, that person is so embarrassing." I promise you, more people are concerned about themselves. So if embarrassment's holding you back, you think you're going to look cringe or sound embarrassing, I don't know how to say it. Just stop caring because it's not real. It's not real. It's a construct. And and I would go as far as to say that especially when it comes to spiritual gifts and even technological inclinations, like where people are inspired to design technology or infrastructure or systems that are totally like ahead of their time or new and progressive, start now because these people are channeling energy through from the future. I really do believe that. I think there are versions of ourselves, iterations of our higher self or our soul that are beckoning us from the future, saying, "Come on!" And they'll throw us signs and signals, and they'll let us know if we're on the right path, and they'll let us know if we're on the right path. Some people will say it's Jesus, some people will say it's God, some people will say it's self. I'm not exactly sure who or what it is. I just know that it's there, and it is constantly lending its support if only you are willing to pay attention. But really and truly, what I like, if there's a point I could get across, it's like there's a good chance that what you are really good at, what your hidden talent is, your hidden ability, your superpower, whether it be psychic, technological, artistry, linguistics, it doesn't matter what your superpower is, develop it because it is likely designed and built for a time that has not come yet. And this is the same reason why I have a problem with members of the older generation, that the older generations that seek to preserve aspects of an old structure, an old belief system, because the kids that are here now are not going to grow up in the world that the older generations lived in. Those worlds are gone. These kids have their specific set of traits, quirks, inclinations, likes, and dislikes that were perfectly designed by creator, by intelligent design for a world that we just can't see yet. So I just don't like older folks getting in the way. Do you know what I mean?
It's the topic that we started with of clenching onto the past and old frameworks and being so consumed by the way things used to be that taking that lens and then judging someone for having a unique idea or a unique set of skills, that unique idea or pulling that you feel, or like, oh, I really think I should learn this thing or expand into this or whatever, that's all training ground for what's coming. So even if you don't see that in your reality too much, it's not too common yet, it seems a little crazy, a little risky, a little different, brings up all this fear of judgment based on what things used to be. That is your training ground for the future, and you're being given an opportunity to build up something that is so much more applicable for what's coming. And it's coming in now. This isn't like a 10-20 year thing. It's happening now. And some of us are having dreams, having, even like a spark of passion, an idea that comes out of nowhere, something or someone that you're drawn to can instigate this clarity and act as a catalyst for you to build something for the new world. So these new earth businesses, these holistic businesses are going to honor that spark of life, that creativity, healthier ecosystems, a healthier society. That's what we're building towards. So when we say like, yeah, better times are coming, create the new earth, raise our consciousness, action taking, studying, implementation, taking risks,
trial and error
is a huge part of that.
Yes.
It's not just imagination. It's going to show up in your reality. And if you're willing to look at it and harness this energy and these ideas and start building with it, you are going to have such a tailwind behind you, because that is like alignment with soul. That is like creator and creative life energy pushing behind you in support of you. And I think we're just moving to a time where that's getting stronger and stronger. And what you clenched onto to stay relevant and important, to be perceived as valuable in the past or successful in the past, is getting flipped upside down. And it's exciting times ahead. And I've had that before too, where I'm like, I don't know where this impulse is coming from to talk about this, or to, learn tarot, or to, some of the psychic development stuff I went into, or the branding and marketing stuff. It didn't all make sense, but at a certain point, you have to realize that that inspiration and that process, you kind of have to just walk in a little bit blind and learn to trust yourself and learn to walk it, even if you can't see 100 feet in front of you. And things will get clearer as you go. And you'll find that like all the experiences and skills that you built up over the years, plus the new stuff or the new, starts to combine, and it all comes together for something that you couldn't have even imagined. And I love that.
I love it too. It's true. And it's one thing to just talk about it and say it, but we've lived it. We have lived through that process of impulse, that sense of joy and excitement that you feel when an inspired idea reaches you. It just hits your brain, it hits your heart, and you're like, oh my God, like this excites me. There's something here. Follow it. I call those glimmers. And you follow those glimmers. That's how the higher realms, if you even want to call them that, spirit guides, higher self, the language is, it is what it is.
The invisible network.
The invisible network, it works so intrinsically with these invisible structures that we have because of the multi-dimensional nature of the soul. We're absolutely working with our present states from the future and also from the past. So all the more reason to learn how to trust yourself. For a lot of folks that have experienced like just crazy amounts of trauma, we could create a workshop just for those people to learn how to trust themselves again, because the nervous system, which is a major instrumental factor in determining that signal and processing that signal and figuring out what it is. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a warning? Is it a what is this? That can be completely rewired by trauma. And in some cases, even verbal, psychological, and emotional abuse. Okay. There's a spectrum to it. So learning to, healing the nervous system is also a huge part of it. So this is really like a multifaceted approach to determining your purpose and figuring out how to navigate in a post-COVID world, which let's face it, things are just not the way that they were. Everything has changed.
Yeah, it certainly has. And if you've had this nudge already to pivot and you've had this insight and this inner knowing of where things are going and kind of how it relates to what you do as a business or work or whatever role you're playing in your life, in the world, your experience, if you are getting stuck in mental loops and keeping yourself stuck in a waiting room where you are just looping and getting nowhere, but you're waiting for the perfect time, it's so much easier to work with the energy that's present as it comes up than to wait on it.
Yeah.
Because then you're allowing all of your old programs to create such a shell around it that it can be harder to reprogram in action. One of the most powerful tools to change your energetic signature is to act and make decisions and behave in a different way than you would in the past.
Mhm.
So when you have an opportunity and you'd usually fawn and back away and question, if you can show, you know, yourself, your mind, your belief system that something else can be great and safe and that big bad thing you think is going to happen doesn't happen. And even if it does, it's not as bad as you think it will be.
Right.
That's where the most growth happens.
Yes.
So I find that a lot of like conscious entrepreneurs, people who are like pretty awake, if they're sitting in this pivot, a lot of them are relying on, signs, or it's like, dude, you got 12 different signs in the last
Right.
week. I don't know what
Pick
else you
one.
need. I don't know what else you need. The
Right.
inspiration, the idea came
Just do it.
through. Yeah. So work with that energy and don't get distracted on or halted by, oh, in divine timing, it'll work. Like part of divine timing is you showing up for the inspiration and clarity that's coming through for you and what you're meant to create and take action on. So you have to show up for that. And yeah, a creator will meet you. Like you're going to have, that's a soul powered mission, but you have to participate. If you're waiting on divine timing, that's an illusion.
And the more that you act on it, the more that you strengthen those pathways, the less
Yeah.
resistance there is to take action because I think it only takes what do they say, 30 days to change a habit or to form a new one. So, the more that you act on it, you quite literally, it's like paving a hiking trail. When enough people have walked on it, the trail is now it's a hiking trail. Now we walk on it. Now we know what to do. We know where to go. So to your point about taking action when you get those directives, I have a quote here from my primary spirit guide, General Patton. A lot of you guys know I've worked with him since 2016. And so he says, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. And I just love this so much because how often do we see other people have success with something and we sit back and say, I could have done that or I could have done better than that. Those people were not bothered by the element of perfection. They said, I need to execute this now. And then they end up having, results from it. So don't wait. In my personal experience, I have found that waiting around just creates more feelings of like it creates self-worth issues. It makes me feel just not good about myself. So, accepting those directives from higher self, I think really strengthens those pathways and just makes it easier and easier and easier to move in that direction. I believe from experience and from what I have observed that if it wasn't meant for you, you wouldn't want it so badly. And we may struggle to identify the specifics of it because it hasn't crystallized into our timeline yet. But I genuinely believe that you want it so badly because there is a future version of you to whom it already belongs to and it's already there. And that's why you want it so bad and it feels so close you can taste it and it feels like it's right in front of you and it just keeps eluding you. Um, just don't give up on it because, higher self will direct you.
So if there's a version of you that this already belongs to, think of that as like your most aligned path. And the way you get so in tune with it and you feel that desire and that connection to that vision is understanding yourself better and removing that fear of failure and just giving yourself the chance and opportunity to move past it. Because you hear any successful person talk about what it took to get where they are, 100% of the time they talk about failure and how necessary it is along the path because it's sending you on that growth cycle. It's data, it's growth, it's evolution, it's breaking patterns, and it's reaching more opportunities for that thing to take off, or for you to have the success that you wanted and you to really create the vision that you had. So it's really like failure is the pathway to the fortune or to the vision, whatever you've imagined. So there's a lot of magic in that, but we're very programmed to avoid it and for it to be so much a reflection that we're not good enough or that we haven't done enough or who we are isn't enough. And it's just a lie and it's just an illusion. So yeah, it's just part of that rebirth cycle and this whole collective awakening and kind of shake up that we're all going through. But yeah, I think we'll close with that. So thanks for joining us. Check our links below. Yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.